Guys, welcome to a brand new edition of the Football Economy. Quite an interesting episode we've got today, the Transfer Window Show. I've got a great football writer, host of the TTM podcast, Mr. James Harrison on the show. James, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much indeed for having me. And how are you?
Yeah, good. I really wanted to get you on. I followed you for quite a while. And I thought, you know what? When's the best time to get James on? So I thought, let the window show. Because when the window's going on, I did a podcast last week with the Redmen. And by the time we recorded it, things had changed. So I wanted to let the window show. I think things are settling down. And I thought we'd get you on, get your opinion on what's happening in the window of the Saudi League, and a lot of the other things that have been going on. So how do you assess the window, in your opinion, overall? Just as an overall overview.
I think I just see a dollar sign in a bizarre twist to this transfer window. It's Saudi dominated. It's as simple as that. Usually the transfer window needs a catalyst to spark it into life. Probably the biggest example of that would be Neymar from Barcelona to PSG. The money then found its way to the Premier League with Liverpool, which then found its way to Southampton, which then found its way, of course, to Roma and all around Europe. And all of that started with the PSG money into Barca. And this transfer window has been exactly the same. With the Saudi revolution, really, these guys are not here to play. They're no Russia and no China, shall we say. These guys are serious. And I think this, to summarize it,
I didn't catch that.
Madness.
I think the thing with the Saudis is, I was reading the Jordan Henderson piece this morning. I'm sure you've seen it on the other great read. I think the Saudis have obviously, you're right. They're not here. They're here to take over. I have my doubts that they can become the best league in the world, and the reason for that is, one, because of the standard of their own league. Two, they don't play at a European level. You know, you've seen MLS try this for a very long time, even though they haven't had the money. And thirdly, which I was on about with the Redmen, Chris, I feel where Europe has the biggest hand is they have the clubs with the heritage and the history. So if you go throughout Europe and throughout Asia, you'll always see a Premier League, predominantly 2-3, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. You'll see PSG shirts in Barca, Madrid, Bayern. And even from South America, even though the shirts are not popular, you still have Boca Juniors, the well-known teams. I feel they don't have that. And secondly, which they will, in my opinion, come into the Champions League. I don't know how they get around FFP on that one, but they will at some point. I think they will become a top 3 league very quickly. I don't think they'll become the biggest league. Do you agree, or?
I think the plan is. I mean, I follow Saudi football very closely because I was interested. I was very, very interested. I think probably 6 months really I've been following it. I do have my own little, as I've become accustomed to the culture and some of the people, and I follow Al Ahly, who have signed Firmino, Mahrez, Alisson, Maximan, Mendy, Gabi Vega. That's a big signing because he's very young, and that's a crucial signing. Yeah, that's a crucial signing. For me, I've got a slightly different take. Now, what we got to remember is these guys, the Public Investment Fund own 4 of the clubs, or okay, let's just say they own vast amounts of the top 4 clubs, which is Al Ahly, Hilal, Ittihad, and Nasser. They're the 4. You will find that I think they can get to a top 5 league. I don't think they will ever take over, and not simply because of money. I think and heritage is a good point, very good point. But the point being also is it's ingrained in our communities. So football in England, come on, you could talk about the old Conference League. That's probably to the same standard, and no disrespect to Holland or France, that's probably the same standard as their 3rd, 4th tier. The standard from the Championship, League 1, League 2 is extremely high. And I think when you go to Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Holland, England, Scotland to a degree, you'll find that kids are playing it. And it's not meaning to say that kids are not playing it in Saudi or Qatar or the UAE. They are playing it, but they don't have the infrastructure yet. They are the beginning of a Manchester City-esque, shall we say, world before Man City brought in the huge training complex, before they made the City Group, before the investment hit. So I think if they continue to sustain this level of investment, and that's the key, is the sustainability, if they can sustain it and continue to bring in young players, i.e. like your Gabby Villegas of the world, and not just people that are over 31, no disrespect, but are probably going out there for maybe not footballing reasons, maybe not. I don't want to go on record, but I think it's quite clear, isn't it? Why Neymar?
It's quite obvious, isn't it? Let's be frank about it. It's quite obvious. I'm not afraid.
Real.
They've gone for the money. It's not like they want to go and play Al Hilal versus Al Ittihad.
No,
and
absolutely.
From the age of 6, they heard about this huge rivalry. I think the interesting part with it is that heritage. I think and the how it's embedded into European culture, especially British culture, because we're in England. Right from Sunday League, we can go down to Sunday League, 5-a-side on a Monday, whatever, and it goes all the way up to the top. And I think if you want to use that Man City model, which we can, even right now, Man City are still, after all that money with PSG, are the two clubs that are Saudi or Middle Eastern owned, even still this struggle to get that recognition worldwide, because you can go to some parts of the world, you'll still say United will still be recognised as the club for Manchester. And with PSG, it's been a great marketing exercise, but that's about as far as it's gone. It is interesting. I think, sorry to come back into that, I think the most interesting part has been they've been able to get a distribution deal on the television quite quickly, which I think will help with DAZN. I think with Russia and China, they didn't have that. And I think their game times are quite friendly for European markets.
I think it's an hour ahead.
Yeah, and so you can quite pick them up. And I think from just the last bit on this, I think it'll become a top league, no doubt. I've got no doubt about that. Top two are doubt, but top 3, no problem. And I think once they get into the Champions League, I think that's all they want. I think they're not stupid as well, thinking we're going to become the best league in the world. It's just not possible.
I think finally, just for myself on it, I think the key is FIFA have revamped the Club World Cup from 2030, I believe, or is it actually 2024, even next season in America? Yeah, it's going to be every 4 years, and you will have your last 4 winners of the Champions League, your last 4 winners of the Copa Libertadores, the last 4 winners, of all the continental championships. And the TV deal that they've got is huge. It's going to be like a World Cup style tournament, and I think that's where the Saudi League will try to break out. There is a little bit of history in Saudi League. One of the greatest players to never play in Europe, a man called Majid Abdullah. I wrote a cool piece on that. I'll tag that on your Twitter. Have a read about him. He's quite cool. But look, I think, you're right. And ultimately, time will be the biggest judge. I think time. And
the problem with the Middle Eastern projects is time is they want quick.
Exactly.
They want to go quick. And to take on the Premier League, to take on the German League, they've got decades of iconic moments, iconic players. You can go to Maradona and Napoli way back even before then. Yeah. Which is what is hard to buy. And if you look at City, that's what Chelsea took. It was just so hard because the big clubs in this country already had that, whether it's Manchester United, Arsenal, whoever that might be. And I think that's the stumbling block, because money will get you so far, but the iconic moments, the history, the heritage is the difficult bit. Well, look, we'll see what happens on that. What are your thoughts on the transfer window in general regarding Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United, Newcastle? How do you think they all fared?
Yeah, well, a complete and utter mixed bag. We did on the podcast. We have sort of like a criteria for ranking the transfer window, and within that criteria is how much money they've spent, how much they've brought in, and then what we do is we do it on like a school grading system. So A+ is brilliant, D- is disastrous. I ranked Newcastle. I thought they were a solid B. I've written some down from the podcast that we put out, so I've got to stick to them now. Even though we did it before the end of the transfer window, I've got to stick to it. Newcastle, I thought, were a solid B. I mean, Tonali, if you know your football, Sandro Tonali's a Liverpool fan. I was screaming for him or Barella. But yeah, Tonali's gone in, so classy. United could have done with him. Harvey Barnes, great deal. I think Newcastle very cleverly making moves in the transfer market. They're not overspending. They're not being made mugs out of, shall we say, but they're bringing in clever signings. They did want to get Szoboszlai as well, remember. Manchester United, look, I mean, again, I've given them a B- because I think you've strengthened in the positions that you've needed to. Especially with Amrabat. I think what a World Cup he had for Morocco, by the way, which no one seems to talk about. Onana in goal. I'm going to be honest. You're probably going to hate me for this, but I think he's a fraud, and I said it, and I stand by it because I saw him for Ajax against Tottenham, and I saw him for Ajax against Liverpool. With his feet, he's world class. He's a wonderful shot stopper and a great communicator. However, there's just something about him that worries me. But does it worry me? It don't worry me, but if I was you, it would worry me. Like, he's got that bit of, it's just something you'll think, oh no, what's he done? He just worries me an inch. Time will tell. Mason Mount, great signing. I follow England home and away. I've watched Mason Mount a lot. He is a new version of James Milner. Back in 2006, when I was a bit younger, I was at school and everyone was saying, oh, James Milner, he's rubbish. What is he? A left winger, central? What is he? Yet his manager's always picked him. And I think at the end of his career, he got the recognition. Mason Mount's similar. I think, what is he? Is he an attacking midfielder, a central midfielder? Well, what the hell is he? I think down the line, we'll appreciate him. Reguilon, I don't know about that one. I think you just needed someone in there to cover Shaw. Comfortable. And then who's your other one that you brought in? The young lad, that Danish. He come on against Arsenal. He put himself about a bit.
He's a bit of a unit, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He really is.
Unit, yeah. He's the size on him. I thought he's massive.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I haven't saw too much of him. I know we got 2 international goals in 4 games, but they were against like San Marino or Gibraltar, so time will tell there. He is very young.
Yeah, he's very young.
But I don't think United would have spent that money. I know that all clubs have been guilty of chucking money away, but I don't think they would spend £72 million on a young lad like that if they haven't seen anything. So that, he worries me an inch as a Liverpool fan. Chelsea, if it goes well, with all these wonder kids, it's like they're on Football Manager. They're signing wonder kids from all around the world because of the impending transfer ban, which is coming, by the way, because when
they know that.
Yeah, the transfer ban's come in. So what they've done, in one way, it's clever. They've brought all the kids in now to mature and build a group as they go through, or it could be an absolute disaster. I'll talk. No doubt, there's a question later. Lavia, Caicedo, and we'll talk about that. But Chelsea, for me, I put A/D. It could go one or two ways. Liverpool, I think attacking-wise, we look good. Midfield-wise, we look good. There isn't a CDM available that we want that fits the profile of FSG. There isn't. I mean, we're not going to spend 70 million on Decore, so they've brought in Endo as a stopgap. Around him in the midfield, I'm really happy with Gravenberch. You've got Szoboszlai, McAllister, and then Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones. You've still got Bajcetic to come back in. Endo will just be a stopgap. I'm all right. Well, I'm nervous about the CDM, but I think we'll be all right. And then the defence, I think we'll cut short with a centre back. I'd give Liverpool solid B- for that. Arsenal, I've given them an A. Not one of my favourite clubs. Yeah, and the reason why I've given them an A, the reason why is because they've strengthened, I believe, in all the right places. I think, as far as I'm concerned, Declan Rice, perfect. Is exactly what they needed in the middle of the field. You could have done with him. We could have done with him, but they got it done. And that's a big difference. I think they've done well bringing in the defenders. Timber, fantastic. I'm not sure about another number 1 goalkeeper, but again, competition for places can breed success. Havertz, a lot of people are saying they're not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. There is a player there because I've seen it for Germany against England. He scored 2 class goals against us. But I've given them an A. I think they've gone for it, haven't they? They've gone for it. They're having a go. And Man City, well, it's flawless. I think they get rid of Mahrez, they bring in Jeremy Doku, they get rid of Gundogan, they bring in Kovacic. They just beef up the defense with just a little 72 million for Guardiola. They're class, and that's my summary of it. To be fair, a mixed bag, but exciting.
I watched Chelsea versus Liverpool on the opening weekend.
Yeah.
And to me, they look like a team that had just been promoted with 1 or 2 good players, which was Sterling and I can't remember Fernandez. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
They look to me like I looked at it and I said, where's the money gone? They had a lot of young lads just running around. And it was honestly, if you took the Chelsea badge off them, you could have thought they were Leeds, they were Norwich. They just looked like a promoted team with a lot of energy and one or two players with a bit of class, and the rest were just like,
it's worrying.
Whoa. Yeah, I was like, this is just crazy. And even if you look at the Palmer from City, 45 million.
I think he's been a victim of the transfer, like as we're on the Football Economist, he's been a victim of the inflation of the transfer market, which has been driven, in my opinion, by Saudi money in the marketplace. He's at best normally a 20 to 25 million pound player, England under 21 international, good youth prospect, but 40 million. We'll see.
Yeah, which even if I was looking at United and I looked at Onana, and Onana came in at 40 plus 5, who's a Champions League keeper, right? Fine, jury's out on him. I think with him, I think I'm slightly older than yourself, and one thing I remember is if you're gonna get a keeper that plays out, he's not going to be very good the other way. Slightly, you're gonna have to give something, and we had that for 10 years with a keeper that stood on the line and was totally reliant on his reaction on saving it, which he was very good at. And eventually the game passed him by. And I think he was 45 and David Raya was being quoted at 45 as well. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. Costa was at 75 at Porto. And I was like, wow, these are just stupid numbers.
Yeah.
What coming, because you mentioned Reguilon and the transfer window, what I wanted to kind of get an opinion on this, and the reason I asked this question is I feel as fans and as the way football's being reported, I think it's gone totally in a way where we're living in a world where I'm going to create a scenario and hopefully you'll
okay.
Let's just say, because you're a Liverpool fan, right? We're going to say Liverpool are going to sign Mbappe, right? It's on, and two journalists that are renowned with Liverpool that the fans trust have said it's on. Okay. Now, this is going to go on for a full season. It's on. He's been spotted by the house. The Twitter account said it. A few other accounts aggregate it. Then, it's on. He was in a Liverpool top. Just constant stories going on. Now, the club have not said anything. The manager hasn't said anything. But in this social media space that we live in, accounts who claim to have credibility and fans believe have credibility are putting constant stories out that this story is on. Now, when it comes to the window and Liverpool don't sign him, there's a huge backlash on why did Liverpool not sign Mbappe. And then it comes down that extra pressure is put on the club to go and sign someone, and whoever they do sign in that position cannot live up to the expectation of what the fans wanted, and he's second fiddle, and which then leads, I know this is a really long question, but just bear with me.
Okay, all right.
That leads on to that player that they have signed being extra scrutinized, extra pressure being put on him. What are your thoughts around these aggregator accounts, these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 structures that have been created, and accounts that just tweet for engagement and now for getting payments off Twitter or X?
Yeah, I think it's. You mean like the in the nose in inverted commas.
The nose.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it. Some journalists are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
100%.
which is and if the journalist, I don't believe what this guy's saying until this guy says it, and it's just crazy.
I think personally, as a Liverpool fan, I mean, you've just described. Basically, probably without realising it, you've just described the Jude Bellingham and Endo situation. So I'm thinking it's a case of I tend to listen to reputable only, and I will go with Fabrizio Romano, his hit rate's high. I will also listen to people from L'Equipe in France, Marca in Spain, The Athletic in England. Also, I would listen to. I like the Liverpool Echo, the boys there as well. They do tend to. They do very well. And then also, I mean, the Times football team is just outrageous. I mean, driven by Henry Winter, the ultimate football writer for me. I would never listen. And here's if you've got someone on Twitter and he's got less than 3,000 followers, and they're tweeting intermittently, not every single day, about football and moves and transfers, and it's just once or twice. Disregard it. Don't even look at it. There was one guy, I won't name check him, but he kept going on every day on Twitter. He was a French guy, and he kept going on with Liverpool and Thuram every single day. You may have seen him, every single day. And I was sat there and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to message him. I'm going to do it. And then I thought, you know what? No, stay professional, stay cool. Because you could see he's just making it up to get clicks and follow. And it's false information. It's wrong.
Now you get a monetization
on
Twitter. Wrong. And you're seeing these accounts that are specialists in transfers. I'll give you the Serge Reguilon kind of view on this, right? Because that's so United had an injury to Malaysia. Then Shaw got injured. And obviously these guys are out for like 10, 12 weeks. So United need a left back to last them until January. Not for the next 5 years. They need a left back until January, right? So they went into the market and they got a left back who they signed on a season-long loan but have a break clause in January. Perfect. But a lot of these accounts I was looking at, they were portraying the story in a negative way. Oh, United should have signed a better left back. Why is it bad planning? I was like, bad planning? They've got 2 left backs and someone got injured. They need a left back for 12 weeks. Where are they going to get a left back from? Explain. And what's happening is, and I've seen this with the Lavia thing and Caicedo. And Liverpool's got fans have started seeing this as well. And accounts are just constantly tweeting stories out, who are trying to get their impressions up to get a monetization, and it's just become a pool of just people.
I'll break it down. I'll break it down for you. I think Twitter, it can be dangerous in terms of people who think they know what they're talking about. Don't go to. I mean, spaces are a perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect example.
We have people, in the Liverpool spaces that they claim to have heard of Endo, 20 years ago. Oh, I remember him. Yeah, and they got like 10,000 followers, and you're thinking you're just rubbish. You're just absolutely talking, and it's mixed up. You can get Ben Jacobs that'll pop on there, and he'll do a wonderful space. Fantastic. And then you're going to the next space and it's just someone who's probably been to one game in his life, yet this guy's got 32,000 followers. It's really mixed up. What I look for, authenticity. I look for where are they working? Do you know what I mean? Straight away, that'll be on the bio. Are they verified? I think that's a good if you're serious about Twitter and you're serious about what you're doing, you're going to get verified. And have you got like, I don't know, thousands of followers, clearly. But aside from that's football all over though, isn't it? You're going to get pretenders. It's as simple as that.
I followed the Manchester United taker quite closely over the last year or so, and
I've seen them.
I've seen so I did a lot of research into Twitter Spaces, and what you start to see is people actually sit in these spaces doing plane spotting. So what they'll say is the king of Qatar, his plane is this number. And they'll track it, right? He's in London. That means the deal's going down. It's happening. And then that plane's in New York, right? The broker is in New York. And it could be for anything. And I was like, wow, this is just crazy.
It is.
No, it's really bad. Like, this is dangerous. People could get ill of this.
I think, Bilal, what we could do is if you could give any advice to your followers is, if you've got a Norwich City fan, let's pluck one out the air. Norwich City, what I would do is I would find the local correspondent or the national correspondent for Norwich City who works at the Times or the Telegraph or the Mail or someone massive, or the Athletics. Perfect. They've got one for every club. Ours is David Ornstein or James Pearce, for instance, at Liverpool. You will have them for Man United. I would tell your viewers, whoever you support, go to your official account, your official writer, because those are the guys that break the stories first anyway. They have a hit rate that's at least 8 out of 10, and they've got contacts deep within the club. And actually, as I start to get older, I'm 36 now. As I start to get older, I only start to really believe it as soon as you see it maybe flash up onto Sky Sports that they've got a bit of, there's an interest here, and that's then backed up by the local guy who does your club. It's as simple as that. If you've got an account from, let's pick one up, from Antarctica or southern Brazil, and he's going, Luton Town are interested in such rubbish.
Oh, yeah. We've got in the United world, we've got accounts like with Pogba's picture in them and these type of accounts, and It's just crazy.
Why didn't they have their own picture?
Yeah, and you know what? What's very sad to see is mainstream media copying this method, like Talksport. You've seen it as well. It's very, very sad. Where I've seen it with Sky now as well, who have started to slightly go down that road. You know, in the transfer spaces, mostly it's the Athletic, Fabrizio, David Ornstein, and then like you said, you'll have your local. We've got Laurie, Athletic XYZ. But people want news constantly, and that's what they're looking for constantly. And I think it's just worrying, very, very worrying. What were your thoughts around, whilst we're on transfers, the Lavia and Caicedo transfer saga?
Yeah, look, I think I actually, a lot of Liverpool fans don't like FSG. I mean, for me, we'll talk about the sustainability, no doubt, in a bit. For me, I remember first we had, I think it was Rick Parry, and then in charge, and then Tom Hicks, George Gillette. Those guys spade in the ground at the end of the summer, never came. FSG, cleared all the debt. They've invested in the stadium. They've invested in a brand new training complex. We ain't going bust. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a case of these, with Lavia and Caicedo, so in a roundabout way, Lavia, and I'm going to say this, probably it sounds unprofessional, but I think everyone will get it. You're in a nightclub. All right, you're in a nightclub, and just for argument's sake, you're single. All right, I'm married, but just for argument's sake, you're single. You see someone in there that you like, solid 7.5, 8 out of 10. Start talking to them, they start talking back. Everything's good. You're going to have a dance, have a drink, everyone's happy. Then you see a 10 out of 10. All right, clear 10 out of 10. Gives you the eye, you go over, you have a conversation. Then no, not interested. Okay, cool. Turn back around to your 7.58 out of 10, and they're, oh, how are you doing? No, go away. You've strung me along. That is the Lavia and Caicedo situation. Liverpool have been speaking to Lavia for months now about a potential deal. Heart set on it. We could see in the corner of our eye that Chelsea are struggling to get the Caicedo deal over the line. His agents, by the way, have a lot to answer for, considering the alleged deal with Arsenal back in, I think it was January. Arsenal were very close to getting him. And then again, with Chelsea, they were struggling. Liverpool had then money in their back pockets through that Fabinho and the Henderson sale, the wages saved through Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita, Milner. I mean, the list goes on. They had a lot of money saved in a pot that we didn't have at the beginning of the summer, because people say, why don't you go for Bellingham for 88 million? Well, for a start, you're on hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of wages that we can't afford, because then Van Dijk will want it, Trent will want it, Alisson will want it, and we can't afford that. So we had a bit of pot of money. Caicedo was available. Chuck the hat in the ring. And I don't believe the conspiracy. It's an FSG conspiracy. They did it for clicks. I think they actually went for him. I genuinely think they went for him. And I think that his agent, I think Liverpool had offered him 130, something like that. This is all alleged. I have to stress, for legal reasons, it's all alleged. I think we offered around 130, and Chelsea well ahead in terms of wages. And if you're an agent that's got, previous, shall we say, then what are you going to do? You're going to go to Chelsea, and they're the team that have been talking to you for months. So a lot of Chelsea fans coming out again. That social media platform, Twitter. We've won. We're above you. They want to come to us and not you. I don't believe that. I think living in London's probably got a big part to play in that. They're youngsters. And, we spoke about history building earlier on. Man City and Chelsea have tended to struggle with their illustrious past of Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United. Actually, let's think about it for a minute now. Chelsea do have a history. They do. Not as glamorous as ours, but they have been winning trophies since what, 03, 04? That's 20 years. Yeah. And those kids were born in 04, 05. They've only ever known Chelsea as a big team. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I'm disappointed that Liverpool just didn't pay the 50 million at the time to get the kid in. However, look, if you don't want to play for my club, I'm at an age now where you think, don't play for us then. Do you know what I mean? The club will be here after you. You had it with David Beckham at the time. What a player, hero for England, one of my personal favourites. Yes, he's United, man, but as an Englishman, what a hero, talisman. I bet you couldn't believe it when he's gone. 25 million, Real Madrid. I bet you're thinking, what are we going to do? Along came Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean? So, Coutinho left. We brought in Alisson and Van Dijk. It's the same with Salah. When he goes next summer, what are we going to do with that money?
Next summer, you never know.
Well, you never know. I would be very surprised if they sanction that.
Why not?
Money talks.
Why not?
Well, I got absolutely crucified on Twitter on deadline day when I claimed I would consider accepting the £200 million bid if it was up front and the player wanted to go. If the player said to Liverpool, I want to go, they're going to change my life in money.
If they offer 175 up front,
you got to take it.
What are you waiting for? The guy's 31. He's going to go in 2 years, right? I'm sure this can get Liverpool to January or even next year. You know, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. Just on that, coming back to that Caicedo deal, I felt, firstly, we as Man United fans are very familiar with the player because we nearly purchased him for $5 million at the time, and we had the same issue with his agents at the time as well.
There you go.
It's a very well documented online. You can check this out. We nearly purchased him, but we couldn't figure out who actually owned him, because he had third-party ownership, or it was something. It was very difficult to figure out. Brian figured it out, but I think Brian did a gentleman's agreement as well that if he got to an X, if he gets to an X amount of level, we'll sell him. Big clubs will never do that. Number one. Number two, I felt with Caicedo, he was on the market all summer. I play football with the Liverpool fan. I was saying to him all summer, why don't Liverpool just go for Caicedo? Because Liverpool can offer European football, which Chelsea can't. And I think where it didn't look good was they messed around over the 3 million for Lavia, right? Okay, and then he did the press conference in the morning. He said it's on, and then it wasn't on, and both players ended up at Chelsea. And I think it was just bad planning. I think Todd Bowley's got something to say about this because you can't buy a CDM now for less than 100 million.
Exactly.
Arsenal, Arsenal, bloody hell, for 100. I never think Declan Rice is a 105 million pound player. No chance.
I think he's a 70. I think he's a 70 to 80 million pound player. That's we have to agree to disagree. It's only because I see him, score in Naples, and I see him.
I saw him in that final against Fiorentina, and I saw he struggled.
Yeah,
I think he's a good player. I think he's got potential to be an excellent player. I don't think he's there yet. I think Caicedo's a way better player than him. Plus, I think his game's a lot rounded. But look, that is just. But what my point is, a good CDM now is £100 million plus.
Yeah,
Enzo Fernandez. He had been 6 months at Benfica, I think it was.
Correct.
They blew the mark. It was 10 million in that summer.
And we could have got him as well, by the way.
Anyway, these players are. But sometimes I always believe, I see a lot of players that will go Brighton, or I remember they used to go Swansea or Southampton, or any club that scouted well. But what people need to understand is sometimes a player can't go from a low level to a high level. He needs an in-between stop.
He needs a Brentford, Brighton.
Yeah, exactly, where he gets game time and then he moves one up. Not everyone can be Wayne Rooney and go from there to there, or any player that did that transition. It's very, very rare.
Like a Bellingham.
Yeah, Bellingham's another one. But Bellingham, again, if you look, he went to Dortmund, where that Dortmund are saying, right, come to us for 3 years, we play you every game, and then we get this much you go. They know that. What's your, just the last bit on, just last two questions on Liverpool.
Okay, yeah, sure.
What's your thoughts around the director of football issue that's been going on for quite a while there?
Yeah, it's not been the same since Michael Edwards left. Michael Edwards, in my opinion, is probably the greatest director of football ever. I think this guy was bringing players in for £35 million, and then they're going on to become world beaters. That tends to be the Liverpool fee. He left. We brought in Julian Ward, who was his understudy. So we thought, yeah, good. Okay, continuation of that. He oversaw the Darwin Núñez last summer, where we didn't really buy anybody aside from him because we were saving allegedly for Jude Bellingham this summer. Yeah, true. Again, and to be fair, I'm happy that the club were targeting those names and interested in those names. I'm really happy about that. The next stage for us is getting him in. But no, he then left suddenly, and that was something and that's what raised the hairs and made us pop up like meerkats and say, what's going on here? That's unusual, and because usually in the transfer market and financially, Liverpool, and I'm proud to say it, are usually quite, I think people envy us because we don't have the money of you or Arsenal or Chelsea or City, yet we're still there. And we still manage to find players, and coach them and bring them through and make money. Ultimately, though, it's not. We'll talk about sustainability. I don't think that model is sustainable. I think personally, in terms of all that, Shamat could come in on a part-time basis over the summer because we can't find the right one at the moment. And do you know what? I'm happy with that. I don't want to rush. Why rush? Yeah, let's just get him. He's on the market. Damian Kamoli, Mark II. Bring him in. Then what?
I remember Kamoli.
Well, yeah, with Soriatis, Kirigakis, and those sort of guys, because I do. Christian Poulsen in the centre of midfield. They're hurting me. Yeah, it still does. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it's Klopp's mate. He knows he can trust him. He's got very, very good knowledge.
It was a power struggle, right, between Klopp and Edwards, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
my own research and what I've spoke to a lot of Liverpool.
Klopp wants control.
I spoke to when I spoke to Chris from Redmen as well, who's quite in the know with this.
Yeah,
they were saying that they were saying basically it was just a power issue, and Klopp wanted more control, which he has got now. Which then brings me to my next point: is can FS sustain this way of running the club?
No, in short, it depends. It's a double-edged sword. Yes, we're never going to go bust. But if we don't continue to invest, we'll get left behind. And I'm serious about that. We could probably get away with that for, 1 or 2, maybe 3 years. And we're probably on year 3, maybe 4, and because everything's going up. United, close now to a deal. That's not going to go on forever. You're going to get sold. You're one of the biggest clubs in the world. You're going to get sold. Newcastle entered the party. Tottenham have got money now. Arsenal have paid off the stadium. They're back in the game. We all know about Chelsea. So as far as City, as far as we're concerned, I want investment. I don't want to be taken over by a state. I don't want that because I think we'll lose the identity of the football club.
I think it's inevitable, James.
It probably is inevitable. It probably is. However, I want the Premier League, which can't happen now because it's gone too far. But what they should have done is adopted the Bundesliga approach, where it's the 50+1. It's 51% owned by fans. Anyone else can come in and put money in, great. But I think for Liverpool, I would be happy with FSG to stay as a majority holder with significant investment from anywhere, whether that be a state or anywhere like that, no problem. Because with FSG, they're like your dad with your pocket money. It's safe. They ain't spending it. Do you know what I mean? And you could get some blasé people that like your Todd Bowleys are just going to wing it. What happens when that money? You know what I mean? I like the safety.
I think Liverpool's the most important point will come when Jurgen Klopp leaves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that could have a Fergie effect where it could quite spiral out of control quite quickly. You've seen that with us. That was in recent times. The guy was there for like so many.
Same with Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal. But the difference with Arsenal was Arsenal were unsuccessful for a very long time. Left.
Yeah.
They wanted him gone. It wasn't like he was winning Champions Leagues and he just went. He was unsuccessful for a very long time. The difference with here is Liverpool fans are like, hence why they'll turn a bit of a blind eye to Klopp's power struggle, and when they know it's Klopp's decisions, but they'll pin it on FSG. And United fans do the same thing. Is when Klopp leaves, how do they replace him and how do they stay competitive? Is it a United model then where you've got to spend, and United spent a lot of money to try to get this right. I'm still trying to get it right now.
Yeah.
Or is it a case of sell? Now, the problem, what United and Liverpool are going to have is there's only so many billionaires out there.
Yeah.
Right? Number one. Number two, and the billionaires these guys want are already buying clubs. So if you look at Bin Salman, the head of PIF, he's a United fan, but they've ended up buying Newcastle, right?
Yeah.
And, if you look at others out there, Qatar, all of these guys, they've ended up investing in other clubs because, and then once they're in, they're not really going to go to another club. So I think what you don't want to happen is, for a lot of younger listeners and viewers, you don't want to end up like becoming like Forest. 3-time European Cup winners, and people that well, Everton were a big club. These clubs kind of disappear. Everton are known as like a
look at Barcelona. They're surviving on reputation alone.
Yeah, but the thing is, Barcelona not in the Premier League, so they'll always be a top 3, top 4.
That's fair enough.
And the league will always bend its way trying to get them over the line because they pull in so much. I think that's the difficulty with these top clubs, or even with them. But I think it's an interesting moving dynamic because Manchester United only went on sale because FSG were looking for investment.
Correct. Wasn't it a week later that came out? You're right.
But the difference is FSG has still got money to run the club. United haven't. And the other thing, the interesting part was that Chelsea went for 2.3. Now Todd Bowley saying we paid $1 billion over for what it was worth. And now what the other thing is with this new television deal, you're getting a lot more Americans involved who are interested in buying clubs, but they don't have an understanding. I remember when Venky's bought Blackburn, they never knew
the chicken guy.
They still own it. They never knew you could get relegated from the Premier League.
They thought it was franchise MLS style.
Exactly. I like the IPL cricket as well. You can't go down. Yeah. Look, I'm sure it'll all pan out. We'll be here in Division 3 if not. Just kind of going away from Liverpool, my last couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
What are your thoughts on this Jordan Sancho issue?
Yeah, you're a Man United fan. You love your club. You know a lot more than me. I last seen Jadon Sancho play properly in anger. The best was probably Dortmund on the left wing. I don't think it's worked for him. But I think behind the scenes, I don't know where you stand with Erik ten Hag, but I'm not sure. There's bits of him I'm like, yeah, I get that, Eric. I get that. You're getting a bit of structure back into the club. You're getting a bit of fight back in the club. But some of the way you treat some of the players, like, not to say Sancho's right, and I'll come back to Sancho very quickly, but Harry Maguire, and I'm sorry, I'm awfully sorry. I just watched 6 months ago that guy get in the World Cup team of the tournament. You know, he's not a Man United player, clearly. He doesn't fit the style, clearly. Good defender for West Ham or Tottenham. I think he should have actively helped the player leave. But the way he stripped him publicly and then took the captain off him publicly, said he's not good enough publicly again. And then with Sancho, Ferguson would never do that. Ferguson would keep it in-house and he would have, I'm not going to swear, but he would have give it to him till he was red in the face behind closed doors, and they would have known. They would have had a talking to. This guy, Ten Hag, he done it in public, but what he didn't bank on was Sancho doing it back. Sancho's wrong. That's unprofessional. He shouldn't be coming out like that. However, what's gone on behind the scenes for someone like that to go, do you know what? Nah, I'm not having that, because according to him, he's trained well all week. It's bad for the club. Man United are better than that. Like, they're better than that. They shouldn't be in public arguing.
Did you see the press conference when he said it? Have you seen that?
I haven't saw that. All I've saw is the post from Jadon saying, "Don't believe everything that you see."
Yeah, basically, just to give you a bit of context, he said it in a passing comment. It wasn't like he called him out like he's bad. They're like, look, we felt he just wasn't in training, and that was it. It wasn't a case of him calling him out. I think what people have to remember with Ten Hag is, and I'll come back to Liverpool because obviously it'll be easier. If you look at Klopp's second season or third season when they had huge holes in defenses and people like, this is just crazy style of play. I've watched a lot of Jadon Sancho, and last year they let him off for 3 months as well to help him kind of get to where he needs.
I remember
to get
that.
Wherever the issue was, we don't need to kind of. One thing that if you look on my Twitter feed, I feel with him is I feel when he's playing, he just doesn't give enough. Anyone that watches Jadon Sancho will tell you he never goes in for 50-50s either. He's either moving out the way, he's playing safe, and I think with him, he doesn't fit in anywhere as well, in my opinion. I think they've got 2 positions on the left, they've got 2 up front, and they've got 2 on the right. Well, we'll come to the right in a second. And I think he's been ill-advised to put that statement out, because when you do that, there's only one winner. Cristiano Ronaldo couldn't win that. And I don't think United will back the player.
I agree.
Just coming to Harry Maguire, I do feel sorry for him. I do, to an extent. I felt,
he watched a left-back play centre-back for 5 months.
Yeah, I think the problem with Maguire is this. He was brought into a system which suited him very well under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which was a counter-attacking system, and he was perfect for it. As soon as Solskjaer tried playing a high line, the problems started to arise, and then Ten Hag came wanting to play a high line, and he wasn't fitting the bill. No problem. Look, things happen. Styles.
Yeah,
that's fine. Where he didn't help himself was this. When he was taken off the captaincy, he issued a statement himself without the club. number one, which I felt was a bit ill-advised. And secondly, he was given a great opportunity, James, to go to be the captain of West Ham and play in a deep line, and you were guaranteed game time. And he dug his heels in over payments he wanted, which is understandable. You think, okay, if you want payments, you want your contract paid up, no problem. But now he's in a situation where United were refusing to only pay half. In my opinion, he should have took the hit and just gone, because for the mental torture he's going through, it's not worth it. And now he's stuck as a fifth, because Johnny Evans is ahead of him now as well. So I think...
See, that can't be right, though, surely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got his... And what you know with him is he can't play in a high line.
No, that's right.
If you're playing a super keeper who's out of the box, that means your back line has to be really high, right? He's really good in a team that plays a deep line, and you're whipping the ball in, and he's excellent.
Like England.
He should have seen that, and he should have been advised on that. And West Ham were giving him a great opportunity to come and be captain. He should have just gone. Fred just went. When they said to Fred, look, you're not getting game time, X, Y, Z, he just went.
Yeah, we said it on our show. We said about Harry Maguire. We said he should have went. He should have. If I was him, I would have took a pay cut. I would have went to, because you don't need. Come on, he's richer than all of us. I think he could have took a pay cut.
He could have gone. He said, right, 6 million was the argument over the payment. Right, look, I'm going to go as captain. It's fine, no problem. Go and play. Think about that. Now he's stuck. He's not going to get game time.
I think his agent's got a lot to talk about, because if I was his agent, I would have said, right, let's get Eric Ten Hag in the room. I want the Man United director of football. I want my player and me in the room. I'm going to say, look, there's £6 million here that's owed to me. That's a lot of money. And I get that. That's a lot of money. We understand, however, my career, we're going into a Euros next summer where, do you know what? I think we'll do well. I think we could win it, if I'm honest. I think we're good. And I think if he wants to be a part of that team, because Southgate's ruthless. He is very loyal, but if he continues to not play for Man United,
he's not going to play.
You know, so he can sort it out. But why couldn't he go to Italy and go to Inter Milan, or sort out a loan, or could the club not pay 2 million or something like that? And I think that's where his agents let him down there as well.
He's been let down very badly, because he's been offered a chance to go to European football with West Ham. You're club captain, you're guaranteed 35, 38 games, 40 games a season if you're fully fit, which he's always fit. He's never injured.
That did surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the second thing is, less scrutiny. Go and play your game. Fair play to you. Not everyone can play at the top level. But it was ill-advised, very, very ill-advised. Now, just one of my last questions is...
Yeah, sure.
It's a bit of a technical question.
Go for it.
So, obviously, you saw the issue with Mason Greenwood, right?
Yes.
Now, there's a new news stories coming out regarding Anthony as well, from yesterday.
I'm aware.
What I wanna kind of get a view on is, what's your thoughts around players being made to be guilty even before?
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Until guilty, because look at Mendy. They ruined Mendy's career for so long.
That's the one.
Right? Yeah. At the end of the day, Mason Greenwood was not guilty in the court of law. Fact. There was no trial. He's still with the right here. Anthony, there's a claim that he has done this, but suddenly you can't. If he can't go to trial for 2 years, you can't put the player on the sidelines for 2 years.
Yeah, I think
it's just crazy.
My take on it now. Look, it's a very complex situation. I think the fact that you touch on the hard points is refreshing. I like this. I like talking about, a lot of podcasts bend around the side of it. I think personally, my view is, it's just my personal, I don't judge anybody. You can all think what you want to think, and I'll think what I want to think. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of Mendy, he's been found not guilty in a court of law twice.
Of all 12 charges.
Yeah, and that's twice. Okay, now look, out there, he's been found not guilty. Okay, cool. He's gone to France. Fine. He's got an issue with Man City to sort out with money. No doubt they'll sort it. Mason Greenwood, and I mean, Anthony, first of all, I first heard this probably about a month or two ago. I heard some rumours about that. I did hear it. We're going to hear more about it. I don't like him. I can't stand him. I think he's well overrated. He's doing these round the worlds against part-timers from Slovenia. Just get on with your game, mate, because you could be a good player if you applied yourself correctly, like a damn good player as well. But in terms of that's him. I don't. He's like Richarlison. I don't like him. But and you won't like Luis Suarez. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. But in terms of Greenwood, look, a lot of people say, look, but the charges have been dropped. True, but he hasn't been cleared, has he? And as a father, for me, look, it's really hard because one, he's very young, okay, but right from wrong. I heard them videos. I seen the pictures. She's gone back to him. Is it Stockholm syndrome? I don't know.
She was with him in Getafe today.
Yeah, and they're together. So they look to have patched things up. That's good for them. That's fine. However, I personally feel the women's groups they won't have. It won't. The media will not allow him to play for Man United again.
Look at Kevin Spacey. Look at the guy that plays the Pirates of the Caribbean. What's he called?
Oh God, the main man, isn't he? I can't believe I was going to say Jack Sparrow, but Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah.
People are constantly going after these people, right? That they're making them out to be guilty before something has happened. If this is the president was saying, then tomorrow, okay, then right, Jurgen Klopp's done it. Pep Guardiola's done it. Where do you draw the line then?
It's a shame. It's the world we live in. Unfortunately, now we seem to be heading potentially as a society to guilty before going to court. Now the reality is,
crazy.
Yeah, of course it is.
To Ryan Giggs as well. Giggs got his whole trial collapsed.
Yeah, and he lost the Wales job as a result. He said he resigned, but we all know why. And obviously, you've got the bits of his brother as well. It doesn't help to the character that the media will play skillfully. But what I will say with Mason Greenwood, look, my personal Anthony, I don't know enough evidence, so it's difficult for me to say anything. We've only had hearsay. So as far as I'm concerned, he should continue to play for Manchester United, continue to play every week.
Dropped him, haven't they?
No, so Brazil have.
Yeah, Brazil have dropped it.
They obviously, so it's in South America then, so they clearly know something. But until we hear anything,
the club's gonna have to drop him.
Well, until we hear it, like you're right. There was rumours about, let's say, I'm not going to name names, but there was a player in North London.
Thomas Partey.
Allegedly a player in North London's had similar sort of things go about. But what I will say about Mason Greenwood, for me, the one thing I don't like is. He's young. He's going to need his wife, especially new mother, may I add, is going to need counselling. And I think he hasn't been found not guilty. That's the thing. Because if he would have went to court and was found not guilty,
her father came out. And I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
I'll double check this, but I'm pretty sure her father said something in his support as well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if they patched it up, best of luck to him going forward. That's fine. However. And I'll be honest, it's just my opinion. People may disagree with me, think I'm an idiot or whatever, and, go for me. But I just personally feel, having listened to those audios, if anybody treated my daughter like that, there'll be a problem.
But my point is, I'm in agreement with you at that point.
Yeah.
If somebody treats anybody female like that, it's wrong. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
I'm not. We're not saying that's right. We're not saying anything. Any human being, right?
Yeah.
But my point is, though, if he's not in the court of law done anything wrong,
well, he should be able to play football, but
he should be able to play football until
it won't be in this country because the matches don't allow it.
Do you remember Ched Evans?
Yeah, I do.
When he said, and how long did that go on? And in the end, he didn't rape her. That went on. What I'm saying is, you can't put a person's livelihood on hold.
Maybe Good Willie is another
3-4 years.
Good Willie, he used to play for Blackburn Rovers, and then back up into Scotland. He was on the James English podcast. You ever get a chance to listen to that podcast? Wow. Yeah. That explains everything he went through when he was a youngster as well, and he had those allegations. Look, if you're not guilty and those allegations come against you, it must be soul destroying. It must be gut wrenching. Everybody will label you forever, whether you're guilty or not. And I think Mason Greenwood, as far as I'm concerned, look, okay, the charges were dropped. Officially, he's not guilty, but I struggle to get around the audio, mate.
Off the audio and the pictures.
Yeah, that's what I struggle to get around. Whether they've patched up or not, as far as I'm concerned, he tried to do something, man, and it's just clear,
Now, if we let's forget Mason Green, let's put that to the side.
Cool.
Let's just look at Anthony, right, as an example.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. I think there was another player in North London as well that got accused before he moved.
Yeah, from the south coast up to
Yeah.
London. Yeah.
So my point is, they just, if somebody makes a claim, right, it goes to court, it goes to trial. That could be a year, it could be 18 months, it could be 2 years, right? Then what is the player supposed to do? He can't just wait. Look at Mendy, he ruined his career. He was a very good left back as well.
Yeah, it was.
You can't then expect, oh, we're not getting involved, we're not playing him. You know, Brazil have dropped him. United eventually gonna have to drop him. And I think this is just crazy.
But what I will have to say is that everything is alleged. It was brought up on Piers Morgan, and I think I'm not sure, but again, everything I say about alleged North London players, again, I have to say is alleged, because these things are a whole way of dragging themselves up. But yeah, no, it's all alleged, for real. It's alleged. Look, if you're found guilty, you should never lace the football field ever again. In my
100%.
And if you're found not guilty, hey, you're not guilty. The term of Mason Greenwood is, I think we're living in, the world's changed. You know, you go back to the 90s and you're found not guilty, you go back to the football pitch, yeah, you'll get banter from the stands, so that's probably about it. But now you've got social media, you've got, you know, every facet of your life is online, you know, and you can never get away from it. It's 24/7. It's in your pocket. It's a computer device in your pocket. It's your phone. It's everywhere. You can't get away.
All these high profile cases, like I've said, Johnny Depp, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
So many of these ones.
Well, John, Kevin Spacey lost House of Cards because of it.
Yeah, House of Cards, he lost, you know.
Final series as well, man. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah. Johnny Depp lost a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, what my point is, you're cancelling somebody before they've done it. Just a claim, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can go around claiming James has done something.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's done it.
No.
And that's the dangerous part. Look, I'm sure this will kind of evolve over the next 2 weeks or so. And last question.
Yeah.
We'll finish on a lighter note. Top 5 predictions.
I have to stick with the predictions that I made after the first game of the season, because I'm a man of integrity and morals, so I'm not going to switch it even after the start. I had to win the league. I had Manchester City. I think they're too good. I think they're a class aside. Second, you might frown at this, I put Liverpool as second. I think going back to last season's form, even now, I think it's 15 games undefeated. No one's talking about that, and I'm happy for that to stay quiet. Third, I've gone for Arsenal. Fourth, I've probably made a very bad choice here. I've gone for Chelsea. It's wrong. It's probably things change so quickly. Fifth, I went Newcastle, and sixth, Man United. And the reason why, and you're probably going to say, Man United 6, what are you doing, mate? You're not right in the head. They're going to be easy top 4. I get that. But
it's top 5 now, isn't it?
Yeah, for real. I don't think, I know Tottenham as well. I've got to come back into it. And I didn't even put them in the top 6. I think Newcastle will fall off a bit this season because of the Champions League implications. I think Chelsea, I said, we're going to be up there because they've got no European football. Tottenham now should be up there because they've only got the FA Cup starting in January in the league. What's there? Unless they go all Spursy. Manchester United, you don't know what you're going to get, mate. You don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get class or you're just going to get crisis. It's as simple. There's no midway point. Look, after 91 minutes at the Emirates, I was like, wow, a good win at Arsenal. They're back. 4 minutes later, what a terrible start to the season. Yeah, I think you can't win.
I think that for Liverpool, I think the interesting part will be how they handle Thursday, Sunday. Some clubs it really benefits. It benefited us a lot last year. It gives a lot of rhythm.
We need rhythm. We struggle without rhythm.
Once we went out of the tournament, we struggled.
Yeah,
we actually had great rhythm. We played Barcelona on a Thursday and beat Newcastle on a Sunday in the League Cup final. We had great rhythm. I felt even when we have a defeat, quite quickly take out your system.
Yeah,
I think Liverpool will be. Albert Ten Hag, he never changes his side, so it just gave us a lot of. I think Newcastle. I don't know. I don't think they've got the depth as well to handle.
That's the key. That's the key for me. Good team, good defensively as well.
Yeah, I think Arsenal pressure's on. This is what his 4th, 5th year. He needs to start delivering something.
And they've
money they've spent on it.
Yeah,
they spent a lot of money. I think United will kick into form. I just think it's a matter of when. Even yesterday on Sunday, I didn't think they were that bad.
No, for Garnacho though, should have started ahead of Martial for me.
Yeah, 100%.
I like him.
Once they get the injuries on, I think they'll get into form. I think Spurs. I think once thing is with Spurs, you're right. They're playing well. They're expansive, but I think once the season's in full flow, once after the international break, I think that's when you'll start to see who's who. And the thing with Chelsea is, I just don't understand if they've just spent, I don't know, 400 million. They should have just spent 150 on Osimhen. I just got the fucked up.
It's mostly when I got my first job when I was 16, part-time in Summerfield, working like after school in the evenings. I got my first pay packet. It's about 200 quid for the month. I was buzzing. I couldn't believe it. I went home and my dad would go, how much you got left? I said, I got about 50 quid. He goes, what have you spent it on? I was like, I don't know really. And that's Chelsea at the moment, That's Chelsea.